Welcome to this edition of Society Chat. When we think about the many ways ASCRS touches our professional and personal lives on a daily basis, we may not always think about the vast amount of work taking place in the background, which makes it all possible. While ASCRS is led by an army of surgeon volunteers to guide our way, it takes professional management and operations expertise to make it all reality. This has never been more evident than in the last 4 to 5 years, as we have progressed to a self-managed surgical society. With us today, to take us behind the scenes to see what keeps ASCRS running, is ASCRS Executive Director, David Westman. David, welcome to Society Chat.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mutch, and it's a pleasure to join you today.
So when did you first join ASCRS?
It was in 2017 during Dr. Arangio's tenure as president when a consulting firm known as TMC was engaged to place an interim executive director at ASCRS, given some challenges that the society was facing. TMC subsequently asked me to take on the role, and after being the interim for just a few months, I was asked by Dr. Arangio to consider taking on a longer-term role as the executive director, and now I'm here 6 years later.
All right, well, lucky for us. How did you find yourself in the world of medical society management for a career?
Well, like most people who find themselves in positions like mine with professional societies, I literally stumbled upon it as far as a career path. It's definitely not a career that most people think about when they go to college. And that was the case for me as well. My original intention was to become an attorney and then eventually to go into national politics and go up as far the ladder as I could. But after a few career twists and turns, I found myself working for a consulting practice of an international professional services firm. And one of my colleagues sold a consulting engagement to the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists. But they didn't have anybody to manage the job, and I just happened to have some downtime at the time. So I said, okay, sure, I'll take it on. And ultimately, I did the assignment. I didn't know anything about societies at that particular point. And I must have done at least okay because the CEO of AANA started recommending me to his colleagues in other healthcare professional societies. And then a few years later, I found myself that most of my consulting business was with professional societies. So I enjoyed it a lot. And then after a couple more years, I decided to make the leap from consulting to a society CEO position. And it so happened that the Emergency Nurses Association at that point needed a new CEO. I applied for the job. They took a chance on me, and I was there for 7 years, and there ever since in terms of the association world until I came to ASCRS.
So what was your initial reaction of sort of joining the world of butts and guts?
For me, it was certainly at first an element of humor when I'd tell my family and friends that I was working for butt doctors. And there still is, to some extent, when people ask me about the job I have. And, I enjoy telling them about the field and the colorectal surgeon song that's on YouTube that I'm sure you're familiar with. But that's the funny part. Really beyond that, what was true then and what remains to this day, it was a very sincere appreciation for the specialty and all the good work that you do. And for me, it's personal because one of my children is a Crohn's patient and a very bad case that he's been hospitalized for several stints for long times. He's had surgery. He's had the ostomy. And fortunately, my son is now doing very well. In fact, he's currently in a gastro fellowship in New Jersey. But I've wanted to do something to support people like my son in getting good, excellent colorectal care through ASCRS and also surgeons like you.
In many ways, that story is unique on an individual level, but is a very common sort of theme, even amongst colorectal surgeons. So we greatly appreciate that. So from your perspective in daily sort of workflow, describe sort of what the transition of ASCRS from a sort of managed corporation to now a standalone organization.
Well, in our case, the transition from a management firm to standalone means that a lot of things that used to be done by a company, a much larger company, had to be all done by us. So we had to develop our own technology infrastructure. We had to hire our own staff, develop policies and procedures, just a lot of things that we didn't have to do in the past. And it was a challenge because we were doing this right at the start of COVID. We had to deal with the pressures of the world at that time and dealing with the shutdowns and dealing with, in our case, a meeting that had to be canceled in Boston. It was a tough time for us. But one thing that really was helpful in our case when we made that transition was that a couple of months before COVID, when we were thinking about this whole thing, we knew at that time that we wanted to be a virtual organization, one that didn't have any brick and mortar. So when COVID hit, it was pretty much a non-event in terms of we knew that our employees were already going to be working out of their homes. We didn't have those same challenges that other organizations were facing at that point. And it also helped us because we were able to recruit on a national basis, get people from all over the country who wanted to work in that type of a remote environment.
So describe a typical day in sort of the life of the executive director of ASCRS.
Well, there really isn't a typical day. That really is what makes the job very interesting and enjoyable for me. I go into almost every day with a set of goals, expectations for the day, my to-do list, but by the time the day's over, usually only about half of that gets done on a good day because just things come up that you don't expect. But there really are a couple of key roles that the executive director has to play. One is to support the governance structure, and that includes, in our case, the executive committee, the executive council, some committees like governance committee, finance committee. There's just a lot of governance entities that I need to be involved with in terms of preparing for, participating in meetings. You and I, of course, every week have our weekly update calls where we're strategizing about issues and dealing with operational challenges. So there's that element, the whole governance element, that I don't think there's a single day that doesn't touch upon something in that area. And then another area certainly is the staff management. We have a great staff, but I tell people that this role, the CEO role, is kind of like an orchestra conductor. And in my case, I can't do the jobs of my staff anywhere near as well as they do. You know, we have people who are education experts, corporate development experts, marketing, communications. Every one of them can do their job better than I can. But it's my job to make sure that they're working together as a team and that I'm making sure that they have the resources, the support, the coaching that they need to do their jobs well. So there's a big element of that. Constant meetings, whether it's individual or team meetings. And then the final thing I would point out is that there's just always special projects. So a lot of things that just come up, whether it's strategic planning or maybe developing a financial analysis for our treasurer or dealing with some issue that we might have that's just totally out of the blue, that just comes up unexpectedly. So those are kind of the three buckets of activity that I would put most of my time into, and yet it's just different every day.
So what accomplishment during your time with ASCRS are you most proud?
Aside from transitioning from a management firm to ASCRS like we did, and I have to give a lot of credit to the member leadership during that time. Dr. Hull, the year she had as president, unbelievable what she had to face with that. And just that whole transition was a success story that I think is very important. But I think aside from that, I would say over the last 6 years that I've been at ASCRS, I've just seen a continuing growth in the harmonious, collaborative working relationships between the member leaders of ASCRS and the staff, the mutual respect, the appreciation of each other. And to me, that is such a great thing to see. And it's attributable to a lot of people, but I view that as a great accomplishment for the society and has enabled us to accomplish a lot and will enable us to accomplish a lot in the future.
All righty. So we're going to end here with a couple of fun questions. How would the staff describe you?
Gosh, I don't know if that's a fun question or if it's one I'm almost scared to answer, but not really, no. I would hope that the staff would view me as someone who's focused on results as opposed to micromanaging them, someone who truly appreciates them, appreciates their creativity, appreciates their devil's advocate thinking. I throw out that term devil's advocate all the time. I want people to feel free to disagree with me when they think I've gone the wrong direction. And I guess I'd finally say, I hope that they view me as someone that wants to create and maintain an employer of choice organization where they enjoy coming to work. They feel proud of the organization. They're feeling that it's doing good things for their career. And if you're happy, if an employee is happy, they're going to do their best work. And I think we generally have a good, happy group of people in this.
All righty. So for a couple of rapid fire questions here, how many children do you have?
I have 4.
What's your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, one of my favorite movies would be The Shawshank Redemption. Absolutely love that movie. As far as favorite TV show, there's a number of them, but I absolutely love Schitt's Creek. Just kind of fun comedy.
Who is your favorite musical artist?
Oh, Queen. Absolutely love Queen.
What's your favorite meal or dish?
I have a record, Dr. Mutch, on eating Swedish pancakes. I'm Swedish by heritage, and there was a restaurant in my hometown that I still have the record for, where I ate 19 Swedish pancakes in one sitting. And just to give you a feel for that, 4 Swedish pancakes is the most that they have on their menu. So I had 5 orders of that.
What is your favorite vacation spot?
I've been to almost 70 countries. I would say that the one that I liked the most was South Africa and the safaris that we took there.
All right, and to finish things up, who's been your favorite ASCRS president?
Well, come on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean for you to answer that. That was just kidding. Thank you, David. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. You've been an absolute asset to ASCRS. I would encourage all of our members to, whenever they see you or they see any of our staff from ASCRS, to make sure that they thank them and compliment them on all the hard work that they've done, because we are definitely the great society that we are because of all of the hard work that happens behind the scenes. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Society Chat.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed working with you.
Thank you for watching. And remember, this is your specialty, and ASCRS is your society. You are part of this legacy of surgeons who have made our specialty what it is today. See you next time.